Yeah, this should have been done a while ago, but we're doing it now, so fuck it. And I'm coming to you live from my apothecary in the basement of my Fallout camp. Not really, but that's all I can show right now since my webcam went kaput. And I still haven't gotten a new one yet. So, yeah, we'll be dealing with this a little while longer. But anywho, let's go ahead and get into things because we got a lot to talk about. And I mean a lot to talk about. This video is brought to you by Reaper Apparel Company. Stay tuned until after the video to learn how you can save 10% off of your order. Hey, what's happening, ladies and germs? This is the PackerMan, and welcome to this edition of Burnt Rubber, episode number 20. Yeah, this episode should have been done a while ago, but we're doing it now, so we're gonna get into things. But first of which, I want to kind of get this out of the way, even though it's basically been almost a month. But let's go ahead and talk about it real quick. Yeah, it's a pretty sad subject because it was reported that Eddie Jordan had passed away. Let me see here. What? What do you want, cat? So, this was on March the 20th, 2025, when this was reported. So, a family statement said Eddie passed away peacefully with family by his side in Cape Town in the early hours of March the 20th, 2025, at the age of 76, after battling with an aggressive form of prostate cancer for the last 12 months. Yeah, for those that don't know, Eddie Jordan, legendary team owner, he was basically one of the last of the basically independents that were on the circuit that didn't really have the financial backing that you see nowadays from Formula One teams. Yeah, it's a very, very sad deal hearing that Eddie Jordan passed away. So, thoughts and prayers with his family. So, with that out of the way, let's move on to the next topic of conversation. So, we have some IMSA and IndyCar schedule news. So basically, let me see if I can find it here. So, the IMSA schedule for 2026, it's basically the same as 2025, because you have the Rolex 24 at Daytona, then 12 Hours of Sebring, then Long Beach, and then Laguna Seca, Detroit, Mid-Ohio, Watkins Glen, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, Motorsport, in other words, Road America, VIR, Indianapolis, and Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta. The difference between this year and next year is that this year, the fifth race of the Michelin Endurance Cup is at Indianapolis. But next year, it's going to be at Road America. Yeah, so that was a bit of a change up for the schedule. They're moving the 6 hours at Indianapolis to Road America and making Indianapolis just a regular event next year. I mean, it is what it is. I guess they wanted to give Road America some love, but there you go. But Yeah, but other than that, the schedule pretty much stays the same in IMSA for next year. However, the long rumored Arlington Grand Prix, we now have a set date for it. The IndyCar Grand Prix of Arlington. The inaugural edition will take place March the 13th through the 15th, 2026. So, IndyCar may be finally paying attention to what the fuck we've been saying about how the early part of the schedule has too many damn holes in it. So assuming that next year's schedule kind of remains the same and this is added on to it, which would be the smart play, that basically fills a gap in between St. Petersburg and Thermal Club with the Grand Prix of Arlington, which will be a street course race. Now, I know some people are like, well, why don't they add some ovals? We've been trying to tell them to add ovals. Like, there's a particular track called Chicagoland that currently doesn't have any major racing on it right now. That would be a perfect track to return to the schedule. Because Chicagoland and IndyCar went together like chocolate and peanut butter. So why can't we get those two back together? I don't know. But that's just me. But that's IMSA and IndyCar news. At least for the time being. So let's move on to the next topic. So more Formula One news. And this has been a kind of an ongoing story, because Andretti Autosport have been trying to get onto the grid as the 11th team, but for some reason that they just weren't allowed to, to do it. Well, now it's just Cadillac, since Michael Andretti stepped down from his duties as the head guy of Andretti Autosport, and now Cadillac has been confirmed as the 11th team on the 2026 F1 grid. Yep, they're going racing. Not when the new regulations take place. They're going racing next year. It is a done deal. So there will be 11 teams and 22 cars on the F1 grid in 2026. And it's like, yeah, finally, we're going to have an actual U.S. team next year. It's about fucking time. But that's all we really know at this point. So it is a developing story, though. So let's move on to the next topic. So this was a pretty big topic of conversation. Carl Edwards and his pretty damning interview with Dale Earnhardt Jr. about basically why he decided to retire from NASCAR sight unseen after the 2016 season. And it's pretty damning, because he basically said, what we had long thought had happened from that race, which basically caused him to retire from NASCAR. So here's a little snippet from it, and needless to say, it's pretty damning.
And it was something about that caution. It was like the final thing to say, damn it, you're not supposed to win this thing. This is not supposed to happen. And I know NASCAR was throwing those cautions to make it more exciting. That's a fact. And I specifically talked to people about it. And that's that. And we're all in this sport to entertain. And they were trying their hardest at the time.
That is pretty damning. And we've all kind of suspected that was the case, because they were throwing, debris yellows left and right. to basically bunch the field back up, the phantom debris yellow, basically. And, the caution that he's referring to was when Dylan Lupton blew a tire down the backstretch while Carl Edwards was leading the race. And the thing was, Lupton managed to get his car off the track and didn't get any debris on the surface. But NASCAR saw an opportunity to create what they thought was a Game 7 moment and threw the caution. And, then the shit show happened on the next restart. And Jimmy Johnson basically ended up winning his 7th championship basically by default. Even though he had an average finish of 14th. I haven't watched NASCAR at all this year, honestly. I've only been following the results on the app. I've watched a few races this year. But for the most part, I just haven't really given a shit. Like, I didn't even watch Darlington last week because I was working. But the thing is, I kind of willfully scheduled to work that day. Because I just don't give a shit about NASCAR. Certainly not as much as I used to. Because, a couple years ago, I would have tried every which way to Sunday to not work on a particular race day. But now, I just don't care. And the thing about this Carl Edwards interview, I'm not surprised Carl Edwards left considering how much they screwed him over. Yeah. And the thing about this, there was one guy on here on X who basically was sucking NASCAR's dick. He goes by the name Roberts Sports Show, and he's nothing but a fucking retard. Like, he has 3 different YouTube channels called Roberts Sports Show 1, 2, and 3. However, 2 of them, he basically posts the same videos to both accounts, which I don't understand why. It just makes no fucking sense to me. But, yeah, he's a fucking idiot. Because he basically... Let me find it here. So basically, he said, so a former driver who got butt hurt and took his helmet and went home. And I basically told him to get his fucking get NASCAR's meat stick out of his mouth for a change. And he basically blocked me on X. And I'm like, go ahead. Your sports channel is nothing but a fucking failure. So, you didn't miss much at Darlington, that's for sure, because it was an absolute boring snooze fest. Only 4 or 5 lead changes the whole race. With almost no passing. Yeah, I heard it was pretty bad. And then Denny Hamlin snookered the win from Ryan Blaney. Who apparently was able to run down the leader from like 18 seconds back. And it's like, see, that's the problem with NASCAR nowadays. Especially when you have people like Robert's Sports Show, basically condoning what the fuck they're doing. And this is another reason why overtimes are fucking stupid. Is they would rather have, the artificial storyline of, oh, Denny Hamlin stole another one because of his pit crew. Oh, whoop-de-fucking-do. We've heard that story I don't know how many times. But you would have had an organic story instead of Ryan Blaney running down the leader from 18 seconds back to take the lead, and then the caution comes out. Without a caution, he probably would have been the winner of that race, and you would have had an organic storyline instead of this artificial bullshit that we usually see nowadays. At least Logano hasn't won yet. Yeah, Logano only has 1 top 10, and he was lucky to get that one, because he got on fresh tires and was able to charge back to the field, I think, to 8th at Martinsville. But, yeah, I mean... He's only continuing to prove why last year's championship shouldn't have been a championship. Like, I don't know what's going on with Logano and that 22 team, but they fucking suck right now. But, it is what it is. But yeah, the dick sucking from NASCAR is just from some of these people. I know how much I can't stand them, yeah. But at this point, it's just like whatever. It's whatever at this point. I can't bring myself to care about NASCAR. And speaking of which, let's get into the last topic of conversation, which you could probably already guess from the title of this video. So, Steve O'Donnell and Steve Phelps. These two chuckle fucks are basically cancers in NASCAR. And they've basically been failing upwards. Like, it's pretty obvious that nobody wants these two jack-offs in positions of power in this company, and yet the France family seems to see fit to give these guys promotions when they don't fucking deserve them. Because Steve Phelps has been promoted to commissioner of NASCAR, which they haven't had a commissioner in NASCAR in years. And Steve O'Donnell has been promoted to president of NASCAR. And all I gotta say is, what the fuck is this company smoking? I mean, let's not forget that these two were basically smoking a shit ton of copium from that State of the Sport address this past November. You know, where they said, well, we're not going away from the playoffs, and we don't have an officiating problem. Yeah, well, when you consider the fact that it seems like they have an officiating problem every other fucking race, you know, to the point where it seems like they have one. I mean, let's be honest here. A lot of sports right now, I mean, their officiating sucks dick. Like, the officiating in sports all across the broad spectrum is bad right now. Like, the officiating is horrid. To the point where it just feels like it's a weekly occurrence. And it's so frustrating to watch some of this shit. And then you look at NASCAR and it's like 10 times worse than any other fucking sport. And you have Steve O'Donnell, that fucking stupid ass, saying, well, we don't have an officiating problem. Yeah, bullshit. Like, it ain't weed, that's for sure. No, it's stronger than weed. I mean, probably smoking that fucking California catatonic is what they're probably smoking. I mean, it's no wonder they're probably fucking brain dead as a result. You know? I mean, just to give you an idea just how fucking retarded this company is. Because, you know, I saw this and I was just like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Because yeah, Adam Stern reported this on the 31st. So Jim France, after he basically promoted Steve Phelps to commissioner, Steve O'Donnell to president, Jim France says, and I kid you not, the race fan is by far our most important stakeholder, and few leaders understand that more than Steve Phelps and Steve O'Donnell. Their leadership will be key as we grow the sport and solidify our standing as a global leader in sports and entertainment. Wow. You gotta be kidding me. No, I am not kidding you. That is literally what Jim France said when he promoted the Steves to commissioner and president. And then Steve O'Donnell's ascent to becoming president of NASCAR is the culmination of a 30-year career at the company that has included nearly 10 different steps up the ladder and roles on the business and competition sides after he began as a marketing services representative in 1996. Should have fucking stayed there, truth be told, because, like, the amount of bullshit that these two Steves have caused over the last 10 to 20 years. I mean, this company just doesn't fucking get it. Like, how can you look at all the discourse that's been directed at these two chuckle fucks from the fan base for years and years and years, you know, no more so than last year, and yet, you know, they get promotions and, you know, and all this other shit. You know, it's like I keep saying, you know, that, well, they say they're not going to go away from the playoffs, and, you know, and we don't think we have an officiating problem, you know, and all that shit. And if that's the case, then fuck them. NASCAR isn't worth your fucking time or money. It really isn't. And here's a newsflash for NASCAR. You're not the only game in town anymore. You know, with the advent of streaming and, you know, stuff like Dirt Vision and Flow Racing that allows us to watch regional racing, which, let's be honest here, puts on a lot better fucking product than your shit. I mean, you're not the only game in town anymore. So, yeah, I mean, am I surprised? No. Because this is exactly what I would expect from this piece of shit company. They just don't know how to get out of their own way. And this type of fucking bullshit, I mean, it just doesn't end. And it's quite frankly fucking frustrating to, you know, to look at shit like this and be like, this company just doesn't get it. They don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. You know? So, yeah. Pretty aggravating, but at the same time, not surprising in the slightest. But anywho, that's going to do it for this edition of Burnt Rubber. I'm going to have another episode here real soon. I don't know if it'll be tonight or tomorrow evening. But I do want to try to get the Thermal Club IndyCar review done tonight at the very least. That way I'll have 2 of the videos done. Because then I have one more episode of Burnt Rubber to do. And then the IMSA review from today's Long Beach GP. And then I got IndyCar's Long Beach Grand Prix tomorrow. So, still a lot of content coming out for this week. I wasn't able to get the Motorsport Lore video done. But hopefully that'll come out next Friday. And then hopefully I'll have a couple more kind of queued up. Because I really should be at 4 episodes. I promise. I wanted to try to get 1 episode out per month at the very least. But, yeah. That just hasn't been the case. Because I've just been busy with other shit. So. And I don't know if you can hear that. Somebody has their motorcycle running outside. So, yeah, that's kind of annoying. But that's going to do it for this edition of Burnt Rubber. I'll be back here in a little bit to do the Thermal Club review from a couple weeks ago. Because that should have been done a while ago. But again, I've been busy. But we're going to get things caught up here in the next day or 2. So thank you very much for watching this edition of Burnt Rubber. And until next time, this is the PackerMan signing out.
Hey, what's happening, ladies and germs? This is the PackerMan letting you know that tonight's video was sponsored by R.I.P Apparel Company. By clicking on the affiliate link down below in the description box, you'll be able to browse through many of their different wares, such as hats, t-shirts, hoodies, and other cool items. When you place an order and you go to checkout, be sure to type in the code PackerMan and you'll be able to save 10% off of your order.
R.I.P Apparel Company. Apparel to die for. Hey, ladies and germs, just want to say thank you for watching tonight's video. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button And also check out my other channels, Isaac the Survivalist and Our Honor Defend Archives, if you're a Buckeye fan. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.